Let's have a look at Mike Pence and Tucker. You'll love this. You saw our world exclusive interview with Tucker. Have a look at how baffled Tucker looks when he's listening to Mike Pence. You can already see it in the still. Tucker's so disappointed. He's wearing classic Tucker trousers. We now know, because our exclusive interview, that's the only trousers he wears. And he'll stitch them up if anything goes wrong with them. Let's have a look at the chat.
Signaled incredible weakness, especially after that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. And all along the way, the Biden administration has been slow in providing military support. Make no mistake about this. We promised them 33 Abrams tanks in January. I heard again 2 weeks ago in Ukraine, they still don't have them. We've been telling them we'll train their F-16 pilots, but now they're saying maybe January we'll let somebody transfer some jets.
Look how upset he is. He's getting to the brink, isn't he? How can Mike Pence sit there, that little human ice cream, so white as snow, isn't he? His little ice cream head, advocating, saying that the problem is there ain't enough helicopters.
Yeah, well, exactly. But also, literally in the same sentence as mentioned in Afghanistan. You know, one of the ways in which we know America's in an unnecessary war for 20 years that dragged on, and then speaking about the Ukraine conflict in a completely different context. Like, this is a completely different thing.
Joe's dog says, O-S-H-I-T. Me and Tucker got the same pants. Well done, mate.
Sorry, Mr. Vice President, have you, I know you're running for president. You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the
Doesn't Tucker there challenge one of the basic preconceptions and indeed misconceptions about this current conflict, that why should America even be remotely involved in this war? What are the motivations? And here is a list of exquisite and brilliant, unanswerable, well, they are answerable questions. If you answered them, you'd realise that this whole war is an absolute sham. This is an article by the brilliant Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Chris Hedges, who used to work for the New York Times and now can't get a gig on the internet because of increasing censorship. So I suppose I'm going to have to be careful reading this out. While Tucker makes the point that many Americans, and let us know in the chat how you feel about this, press the red button, join us on Locals, many Americans wouldn't voluntarily or electorally vote to spend billions and billions of dollars on a foreign war when that money could be spent domestically on American infrastructure. It's absurd. Here is a list of questions from Chris Hedges about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, questions that when you ponder them, you start to realize the depth of deception that's being practiced by the mainstream media and the establishment more broadly. Wasn't the Russian military, because of poor morale, poor generalship, outdated weapons, desertion, a lack of ammunition, that supposedly forced soldiers to fight with shovels and severe supply shortages supposed to collapse months ago? Oh yeah, do you remember that, when they said that they were going to collapse? Wasn't Putin supposed to be driven from power? That hasn't happened, and that's going to be great stuff to ask Oliver Stone about. So do click the red button, do join us on Locals, where you'll be able to talk to Oliver Stone live, because Oliver Stone, of course, met with Putin, and when he said on Colbert, wasn't it, Gal? He went on Colbert, Putin's a reasonable man, he's reasonable, you can talk to Putin. The audience, they booed him. That we've been propagandized to such a degree that people don't even want to talk about reason and diplomacy. He didn't say, Putin's a great man and I love him and I think we should all cover him in talcum powder and praise him like we should. He said it might be better to have a conversation than ongoing war. Weren't the sanctions supposed to plunge the ruble into a death spiral? Wasn't the severing of the Russian banking system from SWIFT, the international money transfer system, supposed to cripple the Russian economy? How is it the inflation rates in Europe and the United States are higher than in Russia despite these attacks? Wasn't there nearly $150 billion in sophisticated military hardware, financial, humanitarian assistance pledged in the US, EU and 11 other countries supposed to have turned the tide of the war? Isn't this extraordinary? And yet Mike Pence, who's meant to be in the opposition party to Joe Biden, is advocating for the exact same measures as Joe Biden. And remember, when both sides agree, you have no choice at all. That's what tyranny looks like.
Stay free with Russell Brand. See it first on Rumble.